All right, so that's the recording up. Okay, so I'm William McKee. I'm an associate consultant with Taylor Clarke. I'm here with Tracy Crystal. Tracy, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself.
Thanks, William. I'm Tracy Crystal. I am an HR professional, and more recently I have been a candidate on the ILM 7 diploma course with Taylor Clarke.
Great. And so, yes, as Tracy says, she's currently a student on the programme, the diploma. And I thought it would be a really interesting opportunity to just ask Tracy a few questions about her experience of pursuing the professional qualification. Because my understanding, Tracy, you were a coach before the pursuing the qualification.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I'm a fellow CIPD, which is equivalent to level 7, and I have been for many years. I've always been an internal coach,
Right.
more so with large organisations, and the course brings a new dynamic for anyone that is looking to do executive coaching or coaching that's not internal to their organisation.
Right, right. So what was it that made you decide to go for it?
I think over recent months, if you've been in a sector that's been really busy, like HR has, a number of people have started to look at life and what they're doing in their careers in a very different perspective. And when I saw the information come out for the cohort I'm on, I thought it would be a good way, a good opportunity to be inspired, do something a bit different and do some additional learning that would be a bit different from what I was doing in my day-to-day role at the time.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Okay. I mean, let's just get right into it then. So what part of the course have you found most challenging?
I think for me, my only concern was sometimes if you're coming from a place where you are the expert in the room, whether it's a people issue or it's strategic HR, you have to very quickly make that transition over to being a coach by not having all the answers and not having solutions and really focusing on the person rather than possibly a process. And therefore, for me, that was probably in my own thoughts one of the most challenging areas. And I guess, could I do it? And then I suddenly realised very quickly that absolutely, because it is really just like very similar to having professional conversations with others. And that for me probably was sort of biggest takeaway.
Right. Yeah. I was chatting to someone a couple of weeks ago and they said that this is one of the biggest things about learning to have coaching conversations is almost getting out the way to just ask the questions. Good. Okay. What's been something then along the journey? What's been something that you found really interesting that you maybe hadn't expected to?
The cohort, I'm on cohort 16, and the group of students are professionals that I'm with are outstanding individuals. I mean, they all come from different backgrounds and they're all at different stages. And that has been really, really interesting because I think for many people, the last couple of months, you've pretty much been on your own, working through, activities and work challenges. And then all of a sudden, you become part of this larger team of people who are coming to the table with similar challenges. And it's been really good. I mean, a lot of cohesion, a lot of camaraderie, and we all don't live that far from each other. So it's a network straight away that we will never, I don't think we'll ever break.
Mm-hmm.
And the great thing is we've had fun in the process.
Yeah, I mean, I think speaking personally, as someone that delivers training programs, it's a bit ego crushing for me when people go, the bit you do is okay, William, but actually it's meeting all the other people and everything like that the real value's in. So that's quite funny. What getting into the kind of specifics of the coaching and the different methods and techniques and things like that, what's been your kind of favorite topic or aspect of coaching that you've covered?
We've covered a lot, and I think one of the great things about this course in particular with Institute of Leadership and Management is the fact that we're required to do a lot of coaching practice.
Mhm.
And you learn so much about individuals when you do that in a safe environment, and a number of processes. And we do follow some models as well, but at the same time, it's really interesting to be able to work with the group before then you're working with your pro bono clients. Obviously, there's quite a lot of coaching hours required. The diploma requires 60 hours of coaching hours. So it's really good to have that coaching practice, which is across the 3 workshops and at times can be quite intense. So that is really helpful.
Right. And how have you gone about building up your 60 hours?
I've been really fortunate. I have had a couple of contacts that have kindly given some names over, and particularly at this time when a lot of people are coming out of lockdown from COVID, some people are probably needing some assistance. So I've had a couple of corporate contacts who've given me individual names to speak with and have that coaching engagement conversation to see if coaching might be something for them at this stage, either in their career or just in general. But I've also been very fortunate to reach out and work with charity. So that's good, because I think if it's 60 hours, you need to have a blend of who you're coaching. And, for me, I wanted to give something back. It's all fair and well picking up lots of corporate clients, which is great, but at the same time, there should be a blend here, particularly if it's the diploma, which is 60 hours, whereas for the certificate, it's 20. So for me, it was unquestionable. I would reach out to a charity, which has been fantastic.
What have you? Yeah. That I mean, and in some ways, it's almost like uh, giving permission to spend the time with a good cause. Because a lot of people, like you say, it's like, oh, I should really be making money. I should really be doing something that's going to help the balance sheet at the end of the year. Um, what have you noticed around sort of similarities and differences with working with people in the third sector compared to working with people in the private sector?
If I'm being honest, when it comes down to coaching, there isn't a huge difference. Because if someone's decided that they would like some coaching sessions, then the chances are they may be coming with a different topic or a different dilemma, but naturally the person is looking to understand or navigate how better to do, or the right way to do something, or a decision that they need to make. So for me, for coaching, it doesn't really change. The focus is always on the individual. Obviously, if you're dealing with clients in other types of offerings, whether it's HR or whatever, and then yes, that will be different, because a lot of it is based around the organisation that the groups are coming from and the different frameworks and challenges that they have. But for coaching, realistically, the focus is on the individual, more often than not as senior individuals, and therefore I found that there isn't a huge difference.
That's interesting. That's really interesting, because I think a lot of people would think that they would be poles apart. But
Yeah, and I can see that, but I think ultimately every organisation, whether it's third sector or it's private, they're there to make a difference. They're there to also consider their revenues and their budgets and their people. And therefore, at the moment, many people, I think, are coming from a place of concern and what the future holds. So no, I think focus with a really strong coach is you are always focusing on the person. Therefore, understanding the environment they're from, understanding their organisation is great, but realistically, you're there to try and help them be the best they can be, and in turn, that will help their organisation be the best.
cool. Okay. And what about this? This cohort's been done virtually. Is that true?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
How have you found the virtual experience?
Been interesting. I think for everybody, we've just all found new ways of doing things, and obviously, we have been fully virtual. Sometimes, I think at first, I think many of us thought, how can you coach virtually? It's good to be in the room with someone or meet somebody face to face. But ultimately, because everyone is either using Zoom, Microsoft Teams, whatever the meet, whatever the platform is, everyone's just getting used to it. So it's brought its challenges. Some people fade out a little bit when their internet connection goes down. I think the coaches, the professionals quite like it because you're back in the room. If you were going to an office or a conference area to meet, you'd probably still be having a coffee. You've got to get everybody back in the room. But obviously with being virtual, you stick quite religiously to the times, which is great because many of us have got, significant day jobs, and therefore we've taken time off to do this course. So, it's really efficient for the best use of time. But we've had some fun as well. I don't think everybody pitches up to do their course, completely dressed the way they would go to a meeting. I'm quite sure the top halves were all dressed, and, our bottom halves, we may not be fully, we may still be sitting in our PJs. But it's been good fun. And as I say, it's going to be exciting when we get the opportunity to all meet up and not seem to be holograms.
That'll be lovely. That'll be lovely. And so, what about the kind of mix of theory to practice? How does that work?
I think for many of us, because we're coming to the course from a place of we've all got really strong experience and backgrounds, the theoretical side, I think many of us pick up very quickly, either from people who are already external professional coaches, and therefore they have a lot of hands-on experience, to where some of us have other qualifications where we may have covered particular references or models or, reading points before. So the theory side, I think, for many of us is pretty straightforward. I think the practice, the actual, hands-on piece, I think if you ask the majority of the cohort, they've probably found that really useful, as we touched on earlier. But it's blended very well. There's a lot of information that comes out in Dropbox. There's a lot of pre-reading. There's a lot of workshop documents, and you're really building up for your assignment. So there's assignment 1 that comes up when you've finished most of the training, which we have, and then for diploma candidates, there's assignment 2 later on.
Okay, so 2 assignments. And what about the tutors then? How do you work? How does that aspect of it work? How do you work with the tutors? And
I'm really fortunate. The 3 tutors that we have all they've got different experiences. They've come at it from maybe different routes, and very helpful. There's always, as you'll know, with coaching, there's supervision. So, you can call down some supervision sessions which are one-to-one. The coaches are keen to ensure that we are prepared for external professional clients. They're keen to ensure that we have done all the reading and submissions. And they're also really keen to make sure that we're having our peer groups, where that gives you a chance to be in a smaller group and get an understanding of what others are doing as well, and their experiences, now that we're out of the sort of, virtual training environment, and now actually live coaching with clients. So I think, to be fair to the tutors, they have been outstanding.
And what about you? What about balancing undertaking a qualification, and it's no small task. It's there's the hours as a coach, there's the modules, there's the assignments, there's reading, there's practice, there's everything like that. How have you found that, balancing that with the day job, the career, and actually 2020?
I think initially I thought it would be quite straightforward for me to balance that. Remembering it's quite a long time ago since I qualified, and obviously this type of learning, you're absolutely right. There's very, very clear timelines, etc. I think one of the things I underestimated was the fact that for many people, if you've been working from home, you have quite blurred lines between when your day starts and your day ends. And I think my advice moving forward, if cohorts were doing this again in a virtual way, is that you really need to be quite strict with yourself and be selfish on the days that you're on your workshop. You are absolutely, if you're on leave, like I was on the annual leave when I did my workshops, but you've really got to dedicate time to that. If the phone rings in the lunch break or you have to go into another meeting after 5, then so be it, but you have to dedicate time. I have found it challenging. I actually think it's been because being at home, you have lots of other challenges. I have teenagers at home as well, and you're trying to do a day job, you're trying to study. And I think you just have to try not to get overwhelmed. Write everything down, keep lists, keep calendars, and just, try not to enjoy the journey and not worry too much about the destination. I would say it would be my advice.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And if there was someone out there thinking about either, like yourself, that they're an experienced coach, but they didn't have a formal qualification, or someone that's just interested in executive coaching, what would be your advice? You obviously go on the course, but what would be your kind of advice to someone who's curious about exploring possibilities around qualifications?
I think, have serious consideration to, the course content and if it's right for you. And if it's right for you at this time, as I've described, it might be really busy right now, particularly as people come out of lockdown and go back into the offices possibly, even, on a part-time basis. But at the same time, really focus on, is this right for you? There's no point just taking a qualification for the sake of having a badge. For me, I felt that my offering for my business, I didn't want to just be the CIPD fellow level 7. I wanted to have the same qualification with the Institute of Leadership and Management as level 7 diploma. Therefore, I felt it was right for me. And therefore, you've got to live it, you've got to breathe it, you've got to deliver what it says on the tin, So if anyone is, considering it, I would thoroughly recommend it. But I would also, suggest you have to ensure that it is right for you, because you are taking quite a chunk of time and commitment out of possibly what you're already doing, which may be very busy already.
Stamp collecting, badge collecting on courses, it's never a good recipe, is it? Never goes well.
Absolutely not. You've really got to bring it to, live it, breathe it. And that is the beauty about what the Taylor Clarke tutors do. They actually bring the course to life. My history goes back with Taylor Clarke, probably about far back as 2005, when I went on their Strategic HR Business Partner Internal Consultant course, which at the time when HR was really changing, not just titles were changing, it was invaluable. And it's stood me in good stead over many years. Therefore, I knew exactly what to expect from this qualification with Taylor Clarke, rather than other routes that could be distance learning and so on. But the great thing is the tutors, because they're in different places, they have different experience, they have come to this from different routes, as we touched on earlier, they really bring the course to life. And if you didn't have that, then what you've pretty much got is scattered papers and files, which is really not helpful. So that I would thoroughly recommend.
Yeah, it's a performative thing, isn't it? Coaching something you do, and so having people that are doing it to learn from, I think it strikes me as very valuable. Okay, wonderful. I think I could talk to you about this all day. I mean, there's a bunch of questions I want to ask you about your journey, your plans for the future, everything like that. But I'm conscious of time, and I think that might be quite a nice place to leave it. So thank you very much for your time, Tracy.
Thank you, William. I really appreciated your time and the questions today.
Cheers. Take care.
Thanks. Bye-bye.